Okay, Stephen, we have this really interesting question from Roelof that leads into room treatment. And he asks about, can you use 20 centimeters of rock wool as a bass trap?
You could, but you'd have to put it in the middle of the room. And I mean, literally in the middle of the room.
That would make it a bit inconvenient.
It would. As a traditional bass trap, putting it against the wall, it's not going to work. It needs air movement through it to absorb. If you want to put an absorber against the wall, it's going to have to be a panel absorber or a tune absorber. And there's lots of designs on the web that you can go and find that are easy to build and design and get a nice bass trap.
Okay. And talking about room treatment, we have a question from Philip who asks, how would you go about treating a very small room?
The problem with small rooms is they're small. And if you're going to meet the ITU specification, the amount of treatment you would have to put in would make the room unusable. So you have to be careful what to choose to treat. There's going to be some bass problems. You can try building some bass traps. You'll have some flutter echoes from the walls, so maybe have a look at some diffusion on the side walls. But the trick is to make your room usable. You've got to remember it's a tool that you're using for mixing, and if you know your tool well, even with all its flaws, you can still do a good mix that will translate somewhere else.
Okay. And you mentioned something about diffusion, and I remember an interview the two of us did previously. You mentioned something quite interesting.
Yeah, you can use a bookcase as a diffuser. If you irregularly space the books, you can use them to diffuse the sound. If you want to be really picky, you can go and look up a quadratic diffuser, and you can actually work out how deep the books need to be, how far apart they need to be, and it will work as a diffuser. Another thing you can do, if you've got space, is put a fabric-covered sofa in the middle of the room. Just like we talked about the rock wool, it will absorb the frequencies as an absorber in the middle of the room. And it works quite well as well.
That's two pretty good tips right there. Can you try and sum it all up?
Yeah, you've got to be careful in a small room. The temptation is to over-treat, and then you end up with a room that is unusable or it's going to fatigue you. You can't spend more than half an hour in there without going crazy. So just be careful what you do and keep it to a minimum.
Perfect, Stephen. Thanks.